All right, I'm here. My dog was being a pain. And, no, dog was being a pain. Anyhow, here we are back for another week. At the end of the show, I'm going to be giving away the Pyrex coffee pots. Hopefully that's why you're all here. Because as I mentioned before, I am not above outright bribery in order to gain viewers. And hopefully you'll enjoy these pots. Now, I'll point it out again. These are just the pots and the lids. There ain't no guts for them. So, if you want to make these into functional coffee pots, you'll have to get the stem and the basket for them. You can find them on eBay, and the stems are getting kind of expensive on their own. They usually run, $30 a piece, depending on the size. But the baskets aren't too terribly expensive. A little patience, a little shopping around on eBay, you can get the stuff to make these into actual usable coffee pots. But they are still usable as they are now. You can use it for teapots. These are great for making sauces in. This is a 6-cup. I mean, that's actually about a quart or so. I have 2 of these size, and I have one bigger one, which is a 9-cup coffee pot. And again, there's no innards for it. You'll have to find those on your own. But you'll have the pot and the lid. And the lids on these lock on. There's 2 little tabs on the bottom there. Hook one under the side, drop the other one in the spout, give it a turn, and it stays right on there. But like I said, we'll get to those towards the end of the show. And I was hoping to get my other monitor set up this week so that I could, share the screen a lot easier and kind of do it live and let everybody see what's going on. But I didn't do that. I had a bunch of other things going on. And StreamYard has a comment picker. So what we're going to do is, at the end of the show, I'll fire up the comment picker. You probably won't be able to see it, even if I do share it, because that never works for me. But I'll use the comment picker, and it'll randomly select one of the people who have left a comment on the stream, and you will be one of the winners. There's going to be 3 different winners, 2 smaller ones, 1 bigger one. And good luck. Hopefully you'll get yourself a nice little Pyrex coffee pot. What else? I didn't get to do any more playing around. Well, I did do a little bit more playing around with my waffle cone experiment, but I haven't had a lot of time this week. Like I said, I've been busy chasing around doing 1,000,006 other things. So that kind of fell by the wayside, so I didn't get the video made for that. But hopefully the next couple of days I'll actually get that done. And there's a couple other recipes. I've been going through the, hopefully you can get, this is a reprint of the 1893 Majestic Range Company catalog and cookbook. And there's some really cool stuff in here. There's one recipe has to work overnight, actually. And I'm going to do a test batch with that tonight after the show here and get that underway. But I wanted to show you something here. If you're ever overwhelmed by the sudden urge to get the Mudbrooker a present, see if you can find you one of these. I'll read the description of it here in a bit. I kind of doubt you're ever going to find one, but something like that would be really, really cool. I've been looking for a broiler for the wood stove, and there's some out there. There's broiler pans, and they have basically, a grill for a broiler on it. But this is made to go over both openings. You take out both lids and the key plate between them, and you set this frame down over it. And you can either use it as a waffle iron or a broiler. It had both the waffle and the broiler irons with it. But I'll read the thing here for you. Majestic combination revolving waffle iron. This broiler can be used with any of our family ranges. It is the essence of simplicity. Both waffle and broiler revolve in frame and are interchangeable. When meats are broiled, remove broiler and put in the waffles. They got that backwards. You take the waffle iron out and put the broiler iron in. For broiling, place tin cover over broiler, close all front drafts, open direct draft damper in the range, and air is taken through the openings in the cover, carrying all smoke and fumes into smoke pipe direct. Price complete, $4.50. I shudder to think if you actually found one complete, especially if it still had the little tin lid with it. I shudder to think what one of them would actually cost nowadays. But even back then, $4.50 was pretty expensive when you consider that their base model range right there didn't have a reservoir. It's fairly small. The top was, let's see, 29 by 30 inches, a little bit smaller than mine. You know, basically had 4 lids on it rather than 6 like mine. That stove cost $40. So, you know, a $40 stove and $4.50 for just the broiler and waffle iron is actually pretty expensive. And that would be really cool to find something like that. But it's, like I said, it'd be probably more likely prohibitively expensive, even if you did ever find one. And I'm sure they didn't really sell a whole lot of them, you know, probably for commercial, you know, for, you know, stoves for our hotels and restaurants. They probably sold some of them, but just floating around in the general population, you wouldn't see those very often because, like I said, $4.50 was a pretty good chunk of money in those days. But that is really, really a neat thing, and it'd definitely be something I'm going to keep an eye out for if I ever, you know, come across one. You remember that really rusty lid and Dutch oven that I got for $11? I got the lid all cleaned up, and get that right away there. Got the lid all cleaned up and seasoned, and I've been using that, and that turned out pretty nice. It's a little bit, you know, not really rough, a little bit, you know, kind of sandpapery, but not bad. You know, and being that rusty, you can see there's a little bit of pitting along the edge there. Along the inside, it's still got some pitting, but for $11 for the lid and the bottom, the lid alone is worth twice that. And like I said, I've been using that. And when you season a lid or a Dutch oven, you know, but lids especially, what I usually do is I give them a few coats of seasoning, you know, at a fairly high temperature, and then give them a coat of, you know, oil or whatever you usually cook with, and bake it at about 250, 300. And then start using it. And that gives a little bit more of a coating rather than a real seasoning. And when you use it, you're going to get a lot of condensation on the inside of it. So as soon as you're done using it and it's still warm, wipe the inside off. Wipe the water and the condensation off the inside, because it takes a while for them to build up a good coating on there so that they don't rust. And that can be a problem when you refinish Dutch ovens and lids. So just be aware of that. Make sure you dry them off good when they're done, you know, and it's still nice and warm so the moisture gets out of there. But just wiping it off with a piece of paper towel, it'll tend to leave any grease splatters behind, and it'll take just mostly just the water and leave a little bit of oil on there. And that little bit of buildup really makes a big difference on those. And one other thing I got seasoned, it needs another coating, is this gem pan that I found. You know, that needs to be, I got that all cleaned up and started seasoning it. And pretty soon I'll be able to start using that. So that's something pretty cool. And that turned out really nice. But anyway, let me back up here through the comments and we'll say hi to everybody. Let's see here. We've got quite a few comments already. Probably shouldn't have waited this long to go and look. Cast Iron Restore is in here. Hi to you. Gobble Jones. Mike Newby. Yeah, those coffee pots are sweet. Like I said, I mean, they're useful as they are without the guts for teapots. And they're great for making sauce because they got the pour spout on them. You know, and you mix up your sauce in there, and you got a nice pour spout on them. Sunuto, always good to see you. Heather, love coffee. Yeah, I like coffee too. I got some right here, in fact. Jeff Jensen, Fluffy Otter, Bookworm, good to see you. Catfish, had one of those when you were kids. Yeah, I mean, they were mostly made in the 40s, 50s, 60s. I'm not quite sure when Pyrex quit making them. 70s probably when when electric coffee makers really took over. That'd be my guess, but that's just a guess. Corey Clark, good to see you. Billy Lee, howdy. John Howard Collins. Already said hi to Heather. My mother had one of those. Yeah, I got, like I said, I got a bunch of them. I've been slowly cleaning out my kitchen. I started out back in the corner in my pantry and got that all reorganized and cleaned out and been kind of going from spot to spot. Still haven't got over to the iron pile yet. And I dread cleaning out the laundry room because there's a ton of stuff in there that's got to go out in my, I got a shipping container for a shed. There's a bunch of stuff that's got to go out there, and that's just piled full. I mean, you can barely turn around in there. There's so damn much junk in there. But I'll get that all cleaned out. And then I'll be able to reorganize more stuff in the kitchen, move that into the laundry room, and it's always one step forward and two steps back when you're trying to get something really clean and actually organized, reorganized. Because you get one spot cleaned off, and you bury it in all the stuff you took off somewhere else. So you can clean there, and it's always back and forth and moving stuff around. Heather Langager, good to see you. Claire, Pyrex coffee pots. And they make great coffee, those Pyrex coffee pots do. I mean, it's really noticed a big difference. Nikisha Roll, you adore Pyrex, always on the hunt for new pieces. Yeah, I mean, you don't see them very often, but I do see them once in a while in secondhand stores. And I usually try and grab them if there's one there, especially if it has parts. And a lot of times I've noticed people just kind of throw them together, and it'll be the wrong stem or the wrong basket or something like that in there. And even if it's the wrong ones, I got a couple different sizes. I go ahead and just grab them for, mostly for parts. And that's why I got these extras, because I was cleaning out. I got them stored in this dealie over here, and I need a little bit more room, so they're going to find themselves a new home. Unacceptable Reenie. I love the kitchen and the cook stove. Always had two of those coffee pots. Never knew when companies going. Yeah, I got two big ones that are complete, and I kind of use them. When the one's dirty, I don't have to wash it every day, so I can just go ahead and make another pot of coffee. And I got a 6-cup, and they made a 4-cup one, a really little one. That's kind of neat. And I got a couple others. There's a couple different styles, a different style than these. And I showed them on that video I did where I was, showing some of the Pyrex stuff. Yeah, it looked like father time tonight. Yeah, I'm getting a bit grown out. I'm going to have to cut my hair and beard here pretty soon. I just made some clarified butter in your recently acquired Pyrex double boiler. Worked outstanding. Yeah, they work really slick for that. And I love the shirt. Yeah, that really lights up here. I just got one light on right here, and I mean, it's too bright on camera. This thing really, that little webcam I got really gathers light, and it's hard to get the white balance right. Even in pretty low light, it's pretty bright actually. It'd be nice to have one of those. Well, you might. Oh, the Pyrex double boilers. Yeah, I see those fairly often, a lot more often than you see the coffee pots. So they're out there. And never seen one of those before. Oh, that waffle iron grill thing. Yeah, that's a pretty slick deal. Yeah, the great thing about them, you can see what the water level is, so you don't end up boiling them dry. Hunting everything with Mike Morgan. Howdy. Judy Philippi. Need new teapot? Well, you might have one by the end of the evening. Katie Emmert. Have you heard from the needy homesteader lately? Yeah, I see her on Facebook. She's out and about. I don't know why she hasn't finished that beef broth canning thing. She might just not have it edited yet. Got busy with something else, be my guess. But she's doing fine. Like I said, I saw a post from her today on Facebook. So let's see, very nice. Saw a small one of those at an auction site for $250. Yeah, I mean, I figure something like that's going to be pretty expensive for that broiler thing. You do see broiler pans out and around, and I missed out on a couple of nice ones that would have been nice to have. And most of them they have now that I've been able to find are the grill pans or a regular skillet with the grill bars in the bottom. Something you can find a lot of are pans are meant to go on a charcoal or gas grill. It's basically a skillet with holes drilled in the bottom, but that's not really what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the, an actual broiler that you put on, take a lid off on the wood stove and put it on there. And I'll get one eventually of some sort. Katie's Corner. Good to see you, Kate. You got no class tonight, so here I am. Well, this is a good place to show up if you have no class. Heather got some beef broth canned today. Yeah, I instead of canning beef broth, I usually make portable soup out of it. It's basically dehydrated beef broth, and takes up a lot less space, and it lasts pretty well forever. It was really big in the 1700s because canning wasn't around then, and they've reconstituted pieces of this stuff that they found that was from the early 1700s, and it's still perfectly good. Pyrex cast iron. Yeah, pretty much everything I have that isn't cast iron is Pyrex. I have a bunch of Pyrex baking dishes, cake pans, that sort of thing. And, my coffee pots and that double boiler. Raymond, good to see you. Ms. French Twist. I'm almost caught up. Looking good. Well, thank you. I try my best. I encourage you to properly season your cast iron. Requires some in a bad state. Yeah, you very seldom find cast iron that's beyond repair, unless it's actually broken. But, even pretty rough stuff, it's got a lot of buildup or something like that, that comes right off. And, rusty, you can get them cleaned up. Brenda, you were late. What were your ideas for using the pots? They're great for, for a teapot if you need to heat up water. They're really great for using them for making sauces. I should mention, you can use these on a gas stove or an electric stove. You can just set them right on the burner. There's not a problem with that. I use them on my wood stove too. And, they'll handle an open flame or an electric heating element just fine. You don't need to worry about them. But for making sauces, things like that, they work great for making, tea if you want to make tea out of them. Or if you go on eBay, like I said, you can find the stems and the baskets for them. It's almost to the point now where a lot of times you can find a complete pot for almost the same price that they want for, just the parts to fill them out. But if you look around, you can, some guys will want $50 for a stem. You can find the same thing for 20, 25. Well, probably more like 30 now. But, shop around a little bit and keep your bids in. You can usually get pretty reasonable. Probably 30, maybe $40. You'd be able to get all the parts to make a percolator out of them again. Shane Abbott, hello, good to see you. Regina Paul, love Pyrex. Let's see, Raymond. Shanudo Mike Newby said hi. Ms. I think I missed something here. Somebody's been through it. Oh, your hubby passed. Well, that's a shame. My condolences. And hopefully you get through it. Shanudo needs a haircut too, starting to look like a hippie. Yeah, you don't look real good as, at least I don't, as a long-haired bald guy. I don't, I used to have hair down to the middle of my back, and it looked great, but starting to get thin enough on top where growing it long enough in front to tie it back with everything else was starting to look like a comb over, and, to hell with that, I'd rather be bald than have a comb over, so I just started mowing it. Me and you, Akers. Mike just finished his live, but there you are. Well, it's good to see you, Angie and Mike. Let's see. Ooh, Katie gave me a $5 super sticker. I'll have to go over here quick onto the YouTube side and see what the sticker was. A little dancing pear guy. Thank you much, Katie. It's greatly appreciated. Let's see. Katie Marias, thanks for this part. Just seared up a nice steak and some cast iron. Yeah, that's one of the things they're great for. Thinking about dehydrating broth. It kind of skipped ahead on me. Where we go? Yeah, I've got a video on my channel for making portable soup. If you search through my video list, it'll come right up. And basically you make your broth. You simmer your broth for a day or two, get everything all extracted good, and put the broth after you strain it real well. Get all the fat off. If you're going to dry it, you want to make sure you get all the fat skimmed off. You don't want to have, because the fat will go rancid. But you get all the fat off of it and put it in a crock pot and let it cook down. You don't want it to boil, because if it's hot enough to boil, it'll scorch. And if it scorches, it's ruined. I mean, it's going to taste nasty no matter what you do. So you basically just let it evaporate off until it gets real thick. And then you just put it in the fridge and it'll all gel. And you just peel that sheet of gel off and you let it dry. I also did a little experiment where I had it cooked down to where it was thickened up like it should be. And I poured it on jelly trays on my dehydrator and dehydrated it in jelly trays. And you get fine little flakes that dissolve a lot easier. And that works really good. So yeah, you can do it in a dehydrator once you have it concentrated and cooked down. So because with the regular portable soup, you would let that chunk of gel basically just air dry for a week or so, and then you break it up into chunks, and the chunks take a little while to dissolve. And it works great if you're making a soup or something like that. You can just throw them in, let it simmer a while, and it'll all dissolve. But doing it in the dehydrator, you get real thin flakes when you break it up, and those dissolve a lot faster. But the basic technique of concentrating it down before you put it in the dehydrator, you'll see in that portable soup video. Put sap straight in the maple trees in those Pyrex coffee pots and perk coffee from sap. Yeah, that would work good. That'd be pretty cool. Found one for $15 complete. Yeah, grab it. I mean, if you come across them cheap somewhere, I still see them in some of the secondhand stores kind of caught on, and probably looking on eBay to see what they sell it for. And used to be able to get it for a couple of bucks a piece, but lately most of them I've seen that were mostly complete anyway usually sell for $25-30. But they're out there. You can find them in antique shops sometimes too. And if you come across one, that's really great. And like I said, they make fantastic coffee. I mean, they really make, it's a big difference. I like perked coffee better than drip coffee anyway, but these, they really come out nice. Just bought a pan. The man gave you a number 8 Volrath that has a crack. Looking forward to seeing the welding this summer. Yeah, I was going to try and do it this summer, and I never did get to it. But I do have all the stuff to. You need high nickel, either electrodes if you're stick welding it, or high nickel wire for a wire feed, and I've got all that. It's fairly expensive, but I do really want to get into that and get that video done too. Dad did a comb over for years. Yeah, I mean, I refuse to do a comb over. I only buy used cast iron. Yeah, I mean, I got an itchy nose. It just drives me nuts. What's the difference between seasoning and coating? I've never known much about cast iron. I have and would like to use, and thank you. It's Dove Kitty, $5 donation. That's always nice. When you strip a pan down to bare iron and you start re-seasoning it, your seasoning is really it's a 3-part ongoing process. You start off by giving the pan a coating. You put it in the oven and warm it up, and you wipe it down with a light coat of whatever oil you usually cook with. You can use things like Easy Beezy, which is a stick that has beeswax and grapeseed and avocado oil, I believe. There's various products out there, but whatever you use, and you put it back in the oven, you bake it at a high temperature like 450 degrees, and you give it 3 or 4 applications of that, and that'll build up a coating of oil. The oil will polymerize, is what it is. Basically, the molecules in the iron in the oil will link together, and it'll form a coating almost like plastic. And it's not plastic; it's more like a varnish type of a coating. Over time, that'll eventually carbonize. It'll work down into all the little cracks and crevices, nooks and crannies on the surface, and it'll turn to carbon. Now, as you use the pan, the coating will be constantly wearing off, and a little bit of the carbon will too. And that's what turns cast iron pans black, is actually the carbonized oil on them. But it's kind of an ongoing process as you use it. Now, a big thing that people really got into a few years ago was using flaxseed oil to season their cast iron pans. And that was almost entirely a coating. You would put on very thin coats of flaxseed oil, build up like 10 or 12 coats, 10 or 12 layers of it, and it'd have a real hard, slick surface. But flaxseed oil is just food-grade linseed oil. Linseed oil has been used for a base for paints and varnishes for centuries. So basically what you were doing with flaxseed oil was trying to varnish your pan. And it does work nice for a while. Eventually, though, it'll scratch and you'll get moisture under there, and it'll start, when you cook with it, it'll turn to steam and it'll start popping that coating off. So, if it's just a coating, it's only part of what you need to do. And the carbonizing, that comes with time and use. And if you just try and, varnish your pan, it'll work for a while. It'll be nice and slick and things won't stick to it. But that wears off. And if you don't, and, if it doesn't really work down into the surface of the iron, it won't carbonize very well and really bond with it. So, while you are doing all three at the same time, just trying to rely on one or the other doesn't really work all that well. The unacceptable part of the name is honor the truckers here in Canada. Thanks to me. Okay. Wondering why you were reading it was so unacceptable. Sap coffee sounds good. Yeah, that does. I mean, I might have to try that one of these days. Can you please join the giveaway? Well, by leaving a comment, you already did. So, I went to Ottawa this past weekend. Such a great time. A little too far for me to go driving up to Ottawa just to be in a protest. It did look like it was kind of fun, though. Good morning to everybody from Indonesia. Well, nice to see you, Koba Yuck. Big. Let's see. Hello, Koba Yuck. Didn't I see a video doing broth in the dehydrator? No, I didn't. I didn't do that on video where I dehydrated it. I did that. It was a series of posts on the Needy Homesteaders members page on Facebook. Just kind of took pictures of it. But like I said, it's the same basic process up until the point where you put it into the dehydrator. How do you win the pots? All you got to do is leave a comment, and I'll use a comment picker at the end here to see how you're going to see who wins. I can never not look at the stove in the background. Yeah. I like about Perk Coffee is durability, real hard water area. A drip pot dies in 6 months unless you get a really good filter and use it. Yeah, I got a lot of iron in my water, and it's the same thing. I mean, you can't hardly keep a electric drip pot going for more than a few months at a time before it dies. Yeah. me and you Acres, on their stream Monday night, they said which stove they had ordered up for their new cabin, the new cook stove, and I posted a link to it. Yeah, look, that's a pretty good stove too, and I could be really happy with that one. You have a nice collection of Pyrex flameware coffee pots, complete 3 sizes, make great coffee. Yep. And that one, if I remember right, that one comes with a water jacket around the stove for heat and water. Or it might have been optional, but because I did a little bit of searching around and found some dealers that had new wood stoves for Mike and Angie to look at, and tried to point them out, the ones that had the optional, at least an optional water jacket around the firebox for heating wood. And yeah, it was a pretty slick one. I mean, there are some really nice ones, like the Elmira Stoveworks makes a wood cook stove that's a lot more old-fashioned looking, and that's pretty cool. You have an ugly skillet, Lodge chicken fryer, and a Wagwald 3-notch Lodge seasoning and oven right now. Ah, cool. Yeah, I got a couple of ugly hammered skillets. They're nice. I mean, yeah, they are ugly. They're kind of crude looking, but they really cook nice. Could use a Pyrex pot to make your teas. You bet you could. Oh, and speaking of Lodge, that reminds me, I was going to mention this. On a Facebook page I'm on, somebody wanted to help identify an old Lodge skillet. And I was right about what it was, but apparently some of the things I thought I knew about Lodge skillets were wrong. I thought that they made, one of the ways you can kind of date Lodge skillets, they had a pretty steady progression of changes to them. Back in the 1920s, they had the Lodge name on them. Then about 1930, they took the Lodge name off, and they had the heat ring and had 1 notch on the top, and the size number and different maker's marks and that sort of thing. And then they went to the 3 notches in the heat ring. Now, somewhere along the line, I had picked up that there was a 2-notch Lodge pan that had 2 notches in the heat ring at 9 and 3. And I have a couple like that, but it turns out Lodge never actually made 2-notch skillets. They went from 1 notch to 3 notches. In the late 30s, they switched over to 3 notches. But somewhere along the line, I had learned that they made a 2-notch skillet for about a decade or so, when actually they didn't. Now, since they never made this, how do I have 2 of them? Well, they're clean pans, and just looking at it, it looks like, there's just 2 notches on the heat ring. But if you look really, really, really close where the 3rd notch should be, it looks like there should have been a notch there at some time, and it must have got filled in either on the mold or on the pattern itself, and just made a solid heat ring right there. And it's kind of odd. I can see where that could happen, but to have 2 of them, 2 different sizes, that are both have that same defect in the same spot, it must have been the way that you would pull the pattern out of the mold or something that made it prone to filling in that 1 notch. But there's always something to learn. Turns out something that I thought I knew was actually wrong. And like I said, I was under the impression that they had made the 2-notch version of the skillets from about the mid-30s up until early 40s. And the 2-notch skillets that I have had the other markings that they used in the late 1930s. So, between being misinformed and misidentifying something, it turns out I was just plain wrong about something. Which just goes to show that you never quit learning about things, and even things you thought you already learned might not be right. Let's see here, where was I? If I win, will you please spit on it? Well, if you really insist, I suppose I could. Do I have much snow up here? Not really. I mean, there's probably 6-8 inches on the ground. We haven't really had much snow in the past 3 weeks or so. I mean, it's been fairly cold, but we haven't had a whole lot of snow. Usually January is pretty dry, from about, the first week in January up until, the first couple of weeks of February. You'll get some snow, but not, the really big blizzards usually, because that's when you get the really big cold. But starting from about the middle of February up until the end of March is when we usually get the heavy snows. If I had to pick one piece to keep and give away all the rest, which would the one keeper be? Well, it'd be one of the skillets. And I'd probably keep a number 8. Which one exactly would I keep? I think if I had to keep just one skillet, I have a number 9, which is a little bit bigger than number 8, of course. I have a number 9 artistic logo Erie skillet that I got dirt cheap. And, it's a real nice, light, beautiful pan. And they only made that style of logo for 1 year. I think it was 1907, 1906. And paid like $25 for it. You couldn't tell what it was when I got it because it was so much buildup on it. But once I got it all cleaned up, it turned out to be a pan that's worth probably about $350, maybe about $350 anyway. So I'd hang on to that because that's probably been one of my best just dumb luck finds, getting things in a secondhand store. And it cooks really nice. Like I said, it's a nice light thin pan. I have a lot of iron too. Do you know anything about how to solve that a little? Well, like I said, I got to go through my pile once I finally get worked over to that side of the kitchen. And, season up the stuff I'm going to season up. Some of it I'll probably start, I'll sell off here, give some of it away. John, there's your comment. All right. Do I recommend the easy off strip method then reseason? Yeah, easy off works really good. Especially if you only have 2 or 3 pans to do. Because all you got to do is just spray it on, put it in a plastic bag, let it set for a day or 2 or even 3. I mean, it's not going to hurt it to leave it set longer. And, clean it off and see what you got. You might have to do it a couple of times to get everything, to get all the really heavy buildup off. But it works great. A lye bath really works good too, especially if you have a lot of pans to do. And it's a lot cheaper because I can mix up a 10-gallon lye bath in the spring and I'll use that all summer, and do dozens of pans at it. Where with the easy off, it's $4 or $5 a can, and you'll need a can. Pretty much one can will do, a number 8 skillet, maybe a bit more. I mean, it'll do it a couple of times. So if you have a lot of pans to strip, it gets a lot more expensive. But if you have just a couple to do, it works great. And, you're not messing around with a big tank full of lye. I had one of those when you first got married 45 years ago. Made the best coffee. Yeah, like I said, they do. Coming up the 18th for a month. Here's for thanks for a chance to win one. Well, you're welcome. And good luck to you. Let's see. Yeah, I called the truckers unacceptable. He ended up with one of those Wagner Centennial pans. Wasn't too impressed with the quality of it. Do you know who made these? It actually was Wagner that made those. The Wagner 1892s. They made them in the 1990s. I mean, there's some people who think they actually were from 1892, but they're made in the 1990s, pretty much as a commemorative for their centennial, and they made them up till about 2000, I think, late 90s, maybe even as far as 2000. Some of them are pretty rough. They're heavy, and they're not the greatest quality. Some are really rough. Some of them are pretty good. The quality is kind of variable on them. The vintage Wagners are a lot nicer pans, but they do work. You can get them seasoned up good. They'll work fine for most things. And yeah, actually it was Wagner, the company that owns Wagner now. It's I don't think General Houseware still owns them. You know, they've been through a couple of, you know, the Wagner brand name's been through a couple of different owners over the last few years. I have a couple of skillets that say China on the back, but no brand name. Yeah, most of the Asian pans don't have any particular brand name on them. You know, some do. That, you know, there's a lot of the celebrity chefs have lines of cast iron cookware, and those are almost all made in China. But most of the Chinese ones, you know, there's no particular brand name to them. You know, some of them are pretty good. You know, mostly the Korean and Taiwanese ones tend to be better quality than a lot of the Chinese ones. You know, but there are some good Chinese skillets out there, and there's some really bad ones. You know, it's just a matter of, you know, finding a good one. That's really all that matters. Have a few skillets need to look at what you have. Some date back to the 1920s. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool, you know, having, you know, 100-year-old pans that you can still use. Yeah, it's part of the appeal of it. Rubbing your greasy hands together, hoping you win the pots. Yeah, well, good luck with them. Several old cast iron skillets. They're all well seasoned. My favorites are round griddle. Yeah, griddles are handy. I mean, you can do a lot of things on a little round griddle. You have two enamel cast iron using it for chili and spaghetti sauce type stuff. Yeah, the enamel pans are nice for, you know, acidic foods. You can, you know, if you're just heating up tomato sauce in a pan, you know, I usually brown up my hamburger, dump the tomato sauce on it, and you know, let it simmer for a little bit. But if you're going to cook acidic foods for a long time, you know, especially in an oven, it's nice to have enameled pans because it'll protect the iron from the acid. It's not going to really hurt things, but it does tend to strip off seasoning, and you can end up with some kind of black stuff in your food, and that's not good. Several single notch skillets that look like the notch is cleaned up after casting with a triangle file. Yeah, some of the notches, I mean, it yeah, it might be in the pattern too. They might have actually taken a triangle file and cleaned out the notch on the pattern. Or it could have been after casting too. You know, if the notches weren't clear on, they might have, you know, the guys at the foundry might have just hit it quick with a file to clean her up a bit. Monday morning, one notch number 3. Love your cast iron, but your knowledge is seriously lacking. They're great for baking, cornbread, pancakes, eggs. Yeah, they're good for just about everything. How warm did we get? Reached 0 to 2 in Minong. Yeah, it's about that right now. I think it was up around 8 or 10 during the day today. It was a bit warmer this morning. It's actually been cooling off for the last day and a half or so. But yeah, it's just barely above 0 now. For your cook stove, would you recommend a cast iron cooktop or steel? The seller says he doesn't recommend the cast iron because of warping. Is that a huge issue, do you think? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it kind of depends on how it's made. You know, the newer ones might be a thinner, you know, trying to get away with thinner cast iron, or, you know, a different type of cast iron. A lot of the old stoves, they used wrought iron or malleable iron, mostly because it was less prone to cracking. So, yeah, I don't know that steel would be less prone to warping than cast iron would. So I can't really say. I mean, this one is cast iron, and I haven't had any problems with anything really warping on it. So, yeah, I don't really know what to think. You know, but like I said, I don't see where steel would be less prone to warping than cast iron would be, unless, you know, like I said, it's something in the you know, the modern manufacturing process. So I don't really think it's going to be a huge issue either way. unless you're really, really heating the hell out of it, and it gets too hot on one side compared to the other, then that's when things can warp. But it's not really something that I've run into. Get rid of that one. Here in Maine, expecting up to a foot of snow into Friday. Cast iron on my wood stove has been a lifesaver in power outages in the winter. Yeah, it's it's the original way of heating your house without electricity. And I've got the big heater stove in the living room, and this one here. When it gets really cold, I get both of them going, and sometimes I have to open a window when it's 10 below out because it's just too damn hot in here from both stoves going. But yeah, like I say, we're just now starting to get into more of the big snow season instead of the big cold here in Wisconsin. I have one that says Taiwan on the bottom. What are your thoughts on those? Actually, it's one of your favorites. Yeah, I got several made in Taiwan pans, made in Korea. Yeah, I got a little and one of my favorites is made in Taiwan. It's kind of a shallow one, has those sharply sloping sides to it. But the thing browns fantastic. It's just phenomenal for making things like fried potatoes because it just browns things so nicely. And there's nothing wrong with Taiwanese or Korean or Chinese or anything like that, as long as it's a good quality pan. And something I always mention, buy the pan first rather than the brand name. If it's a good, well-made pan, it's worth using. That little made in Taiwan pan that I have, that cooks just as nice as any of the 100-year-old Griswold and Wagner and favorite ware pans that I have. So if it's a good pan, it's a good pan, no matter where it's made. And it's a lot cheaper. You can find, you can usually find, a little made in Taiwan or made in Korea skillet for $4, $5, $6 at a secondhand store. Where something the same, like a vintage Griswold would cost $50 or $60, $70 even, for something the same size. So you'll learn how to spot what the difference between a good pan and a bad pan is. Usually, if it's a really cheaply made from bad cast iron, it'll be real heavy and really clunky for its size. And you can make a heavy pan out of good iron, but you can't make a light pan out of bad iron. If it's a nice lightweight pan, if it has a decent surface on it, a pebbly texture is okay, like the newer Lodge pans. But if it has a really coarse, grainy, crystalline looking sandpapery surface on it, it's probably not worth bothering with. That's the two biggest things to look for. But yeah, if you find a pan that looks like it's a good pan, don't worry about where it was made. I have two Griswold duochrome that you use a lot and really like. Yeah, I like chrome and nickel plated stuff too. Most of the plated stuff I have is Wagner ware, the nickel plating. And I really like the look of the nickel plated stuff. Can't wait to watch my video on the broth. It's a great idea. Yeah, I use it quite a bit. And like I said, it takes up a lot less space than canned broth. Combined easy off with electrolysis and had good results. That's pretty much what I usually do. I use a lye bath first and then run it through the electrolysis tank to get the rust off. And that really works good. With electrolysis, you can just go right from the start with the electrolysis and use that to get the buildup off. But it works a lot faster if you strip the crud off of them first and then put them in the electrolysis. You only subscribed about a year ago when I explained my screen name, channel name. It's because I live in an area called Mudbrook. And that's where it comes from. 3-notch Lodges are nice pans. I have 2 number 8s. Unfortunately, one's a bad spinner. Yeah, the old Lodge pans are really nice. Loretta Comer, nice to see you. You're here in time for the drawing. What's a spinner in the terms of cast iron pan? Warped. Yeah, the bottom is warped. Usually they bow downward, and if you put it on a flat surface like a countertop, they'll wobble a little bit if you press down on the sides, or if you tap the handle, it'll spin real easy. Where if the bottom is flat, it won't spin. And it usually, a little bit of warping on the bottom doesn't hurt the way they cook unless you have like a glass top stove. But on a gas stove or an electric one with coils, it doesn't really cause any problem. I mean, you'll need a little bit more oil in the bottom of your pan to fill up the dip in the bottom. But other than that, it's not really a problem. And a lot of times, if you're buying a pan somewhere where you can haggle over the price, the fact that it spins a little or has a little wobble to it, you can usually talk them down a little bit on the price, because collectors like, nice flat pristine pans, and they'll pay more for them than they will for one that has a spin to it. How many cast iron pieces do I have? I haven't really counted. I mean, I've probably got getting close to 100 now of different things. The most unique rare piece, that would be that artistic logo Erie that I mentioned before. Got a couple other ones that are pretty scarce too. But let's see, the pots, and Rini has the innards, baskets, and rods. Well, good. I only buy cast iron from the masters. Yeah, I mean, whatever you prefer. There's really no right or wrong about it. Yeah, you can find Lodge at Walmart. Cracker Barrel has Lodge cast iron. Yeah, Lodge has made a lot of the Cracker Barrel pans. You see those quite often, and they have a lot of them that have different different scenes, wildlife scenes, different designs. Lodge has been doing that sort of thing for years, and there's a lot of people that collect the different Lodge. I don't know what you call them, different scenes, different designs on the back. They did a Rosie the Riveter one here a couple of years ago. They usually come out with 2 or 3 different designs a year. So, and like I say, there's a lot of people that have gotten into collecting that sort of thing. But anyway, what I should do, let's see if I remember how to do this without completely screwing things up. I should be able to go ahead and we'll do our drawing here now. And I'll start off with one of the 6-cup ones first. And then I'm just trying to remember how I did this last time. Let's guess, where are we here? No, that ain't the one I was looking for. Oh, I'll find it yet. I've done this before, so there shouldn't be any problem doing this. And yet, I'm still managing to have a problem doing this. Oh, did I do that last time? Leave studio? No, I don't want to leave my studio. Let me bring up another page here quick. This is silly. No, that wasn't it. Now comes the part where I sit here staring at the page trying to figure out what I'm doing. There we go. All right. Choose a broadcast. There we go. Start collecting comments. Enters 33, draw. All right, it's clicking along, and the first winner, Darla All Red. Better write this down. And just make sure I'm still broadcasting here. Go over to the YouTube site quick. All right. Darla All Red, you won one of the 6-cup Pyrex coffee pots. Let me write you down here, Darla All Red. Now to claim your prize, drop me a message at the Mudbrooker at yahoo.com and send me a shipping address, and I'll get these shipped out as soon as I possibly can. If you don't claim it by next week, I will do this again next week. And any unclaimed ones will be drawn for again. Okay, here we go for the second one. The second time around, I'm giving away the 9-cup one. And Sheila Simonette, you won the second one. Sheila Simonette. And our third and final winner for the third and final 6-cup pot is, do this again. If you come up again, you won't win, but Darla All Red again. Well, you only get one, Darla. So probably shouldn't have said that because maybe you want to come up again. One more time. Corey Clark. All right. Corey Clark, Sheila Simonette, and Darla All Red are our lucky winners of the 3 Pyrex coffee pots. Like I said, get a hold of me at themudbrooker at yahoo.com, and we'll get the shipping all arranged and underway. That would have been a whole lot cooler if I actually would have been able to share the screen and you can see it flipping through. But hopefully I'll get that all set up next time, because it's really a pain to share a screen with just one monitor. And I got another little monitor I'm going to set up over to the side there so I can do this sort of thing. But anyway, yeah, Darla All Red, you actually won twice, but your name came up twice, so you only get the one. I think there's a way to make the name of the winner show up in the chat. Maybe I'd have to look a little bit closer into it, and you know, switch it back and forth between the YouTube side and the StreamYard side. It took me a while to find that again. I gotta look into that again, so next time I do this, it isn't quite as much of a pain. Yeah, Darla, it'd be a good time to head for the casino or maybe buy some lottery tickets. But then again, maybe you just got all your good luck burned up in one night here for a coffee pot. But you did win the coffee pot, so that was always nice. Anyway, like I said, the Mudbrooker at yahoo.com, and I'll get these shipped out as soon as I can next time I get into town. probably before the weekend, but we'll see how that goes. I'll get them out soon at any rate, and hopefully you'll enjoy them. Like I said, they're useful things. You know, I mean, you can use them for teapots, coffee pots, all kinds of different things. You know, pretty much anything you could cook in a saucepan, you could do in one of those. Or you can get the bits and pieces and use them for coffee pots like they're intended to. But anyway, thank you much for watching. We're going on an hour now, and it's about time to wrap this up. So I'm going to wrap this up. Congratulations to everybody who won. If you like the video, be sure you leave a like, subscribe, join the channel if you're feeling really adventurous. One of these days, I'll actually get around to doing the members-only private streams, but I've been having a hell of a time getting those scheduled and arranged, but I will do them here eventually. And thank you much for watching. I'll see you guys next week, and congratulations to our winners. Bye.